Back with segment 3, and today we are going to talk and learn from the Freedmenstown Preservation Coalition, because we want you to be informed, to know exactly what is going on as it relates to saving the brick streets of Andrews and Wilson. We have people here who are knowledgeable, and they will help us get a better understanding and direct us as to what we should be doing. We have with us Miss Tiffany Wilson. She's a certified school counselor and licensed professional, and she's an intern at Harvey Brown Elementary School, and she's in pursuit of her doctorate in counseling education in the program at Texas Southern University. So welcome. Thank you for coming out today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We also have Derek Wilson. He's a director of administration at Texas Southern University, Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Thank you so much for coming out, sir.
Thank you for having
We
me.
we appreciate these young people who are pursuing the highest level of education, such that we can preserve and protect opportunities that we have. We also have Miss Catherine Roberts. Miss Catherine Roberts is the head of the Rutherford Yates Museum. She's been in the vineyard for about 20 years, to my knowledge, working on preserving the brick streets. A lot of people would have just abandoned the bricks or anything else in Freedmenstown, but not Catherine Roberts. And so, Catherine, we appreciate you and your leadership, and we look forward to this segment. Again, Houston, we need you to get ready to call in. The number is 713-526-1230. That's 713-526-1230. 1230 is 1230, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you a halfway joke. Somebody told me that they tweeted out that they were going to be on KCOH 12:30 a.m. and they thought it was 12:30 a.m. in the morning. No, this show's Sun Illuminations at 2 p.m. 12:30 a.m. is the call letter, ladies and gentlemen. Come on now. So come on. We're going to talk about heritage. And there's a group called UNESCO. They're a United Nations organization, and they work on several issues around the world, and heritage is one. And what UNESCO writes about heritage is, it says heritage is our legacy from the past that we live with today and what we pass on to future generations. Our cultural and natural heritage are both irreplaceable sources of life and inspiration. So, tell me what you think about what UNESCO has said about that. We're going to start with our young director of administration at Texas Southern University. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Wilson?
Well, I actually believe, our heritage resonates so much, in the city of Houston. I attended Texas Southern University, two-time graduate, for that very reason, for going to a historically black college and university. But as it relates to this coalition, you learn as going to a historically black college or university, the importance of tradition and your heritage, and what does it mean to have self-confidence in yourself. But also understanding, there's certain efforts in life and things in life that you have to be very passionate about. Because if those things are taken away, then you actually lose the understanding of who you are and what our cause is and what's our purpose here on life. This particular coalition means so much because if this is not done in the right manner, and these streets are not preserved, then we actually lose sight of our true understanding of what the freed slaves came to Houston for after emancipation. And them spending their money, $125 to pay for the streets for each household. And for my own children, the three of them, to really understand, what do these paved streets mean for the city of Houston, and for understanding just because we live in the neighborhood that we live in, it actually didn't generate that way. Okay. So you have a better found understanding of life. And I quote Hall of Famer from last night, Arenas Williams. They said, begin with the end in mind and die empty. So in life, you have to already begin to think of the end in mind. And when you leave here, have I done everything that I needed to do? Understanding heritage is that when my time is called and my time is up, to understand, have I given my all? Enjoying something that is worth joining. Mm-hmm. And you understand that, again, as I go back to going to a historically black college, because you can't get that from nowhere else, no other place. Freedmentown is an historic area that I think many Houstonians and African Americans have not even ventured on.
Well, we're gonna try to see if we can get them on down there at Andrews and Wilson real soon because
Yes, ma'am.
it's at risk. Why is this important to you, Mrs. Wilson?
This is very important to me because my parents, both my mother and father, were raised in this area. I spent many days, hours, summers in this area as well as a child because my grandmother and great-grandmother lived in this area before it became what is now incorrectly called Midtown. This is 4th Ward, Freedmen's Town. I've attended church at Mount Horeb Missionary Baptist Church under the leadership of Dr. Samuel H. Smith. And that is where my heritage is from. This is where my family settled and became who they are. So it's very important that I continue to teach my children this heritage, and these streets are part of that heritage.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. And these are young people, listening audience. I know you don't want to tell how old you are, but they look so young. They look like they're about 15 to 20.
Thank you.
But I've heard we got some children, so they didn't have children during teenage years, so they must be 30 something.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you so much for coming out to give personal stories as to what it means to you. Now, Catherine Roberts didn't grow up, and grandparents weren't down there in Freedmen's Town. So why is this an issue that's important to you, Ms. Roberts?
It's important to me because it's a sense of pride in American history to discover that there was a population of people who were so horribly marginalized after slavery, and they just were so creative to work around those restrictions and still accomplish so much. And that's really a tribute to the families with great hopes and dedication and aspirations to just say, I'm going to create my own community. And they did. They built their own schools, their own churches, they were doctors, dentists. They raised money themselves and built a hospital when they couldn't be treated in the Houston hospitals. It's an amazing story of self-sufficiency, dedication, and a strong faith.
So, what does the Freedmen's Town Coalition want the people of Houston to do to connect with this group?
We would like to see all the organizations and individuals, no matter what your ethnicity is, to come forth and protect and preserve this district. Contact your state representatives, your local leaders, your council members, your mayor, and tell them stop the removal of the historic bricks. Follow the guidelines of the National Historic Preservation Act, which has been violated by the city, and bring in the proper engineering teams to design proper installation of new utilities, modern utilities, without damaging the brick streets, so they don't have to be removed. They can be repaired. The damage has not been done from just trucks randomly over it. For 100 years, the trucks have been going over it, but the damage has come from the city and developers cutting into, losing the brick streets, and pouring asphalt on it, and damaging it, and weakening it. So it can be repaired carefully and using modern technology of trenchless technologies.
With the trenchless technology opportunity that we have, where do we want those utilities placed?
We would like to see them use micro-tunneling and other trenchless methods to put utilities under sidewalk easements, reroute them around some of the streets, but mostly in the sidewalk easements, so there's no need to rip out the streets. We have a tradition in Houston, a current one, of putting all our utilities under a brand new street, and then a year later, we're digging in there when the joints and connections fail. We don't want the bricks to be continually assaulted, so we don't want the utility connections and lines underneath those historic brick streets.
Why do you think these brick streets became historic? What made them historic? What are some of the features or attributes of those bricks that are not found elsewhere?
Quite interesting. First of all, the street itself was named Andrews and Wilson in 1866 when the freedmen settled the community and started buying homes. And then in 1906 or 7, a group of the gentlemen there, Jack Yates, Reverend Bullam, J. Vance Lewis, petitioned for 6 years to get a permit to install bricks. They had already a trolley line. We had blacksmiths there to forge the rails. They had a trolley line, but the roads were quite muddy and were, not healthy. So they petitioned 6 years. Finally, they were granted a permit to go ahead and have the brick streets done, only if they hired a white contractor. So they did hire a white contracting company, and then each family was assessed like Professor Derrick said, $125 a family. That was a lot of money by 1913. And they put the patterns in, specific patterns at the intersections. Now there's just one of these intersections that still has this crossroad patterning that goes back to the African crossroad patterning or the Yoruba religion. And it's very significant, very unusual. You're not going to find it so far in any other brick streets in the country.
Okay, Mr. Wilson,
Yes, ma'am.
one may say, well, Freedmanstown is already gone, lost. Why don't you just go away? Why not? Why should you take this stand at this time?
Well, I think the easiest thing is to say that, to get rid of it. But again, as we were on the first issue or topic of heritage and understanding, because it means so much. Actually, when you drive by, you can almost pass right by because there's so many other things that are happening in Freedmanstown. And it's almost kind of like as if the city is trying to force it out and force history away. When you have an understanding of, standing up for what's right, then you see that it is something of importance that we need to keep. That's kind of like a piece of one's body being lost if this goes away and if it's not preserved, not restored, but preserved. And it's the difference between the two words.
Tell us what the difference, do you know the difference between the two words, Ms. Wilson?
Preservation and restoration.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Because that's important, I think, to this issue.
Yes, ma'am. Basically, when we want to preserve something, we want to keep it in its original state. And basically what the city of Houston is trying to do is a restoration project, not a preservation project. Removing the bricks is removing the work that was done when they were originally put down, the heart and soul that was put into placing those bricks. So that is not preserving it. And from what I understand, some bricks have already been removed and were supposed to be put back, and they were not. So are we facing the same issue with this situation of if you remove them, are you putting them back into their original state?
Ms. Roberts, tell us more about this National Preservation Act and its 106 review process. Can you speak to us about that? And wait a minute, listen audience, the phone should be ringing. We're here just working real hard, trying to preserve history, and we need you to call 713. We need you to call now, not tomorrow, not later. Don't call me, Doris. I heard you. No, you talk to me today, please. 713-526-1230. That's 713-526-1230. Thank you. And now, Ms. Roberts, can you talk to us about the 106?
Yes, when the National Register District was designated in 1985, it's quite a high designation. It requires that the city that has a national district be good stewards of this cultural resource. The homes, the brick streets, the churches, everything that's historic within that district. The city has not been good stewards. They've damaged the streets. And one requirement of the National Historic Preservation Act is that you must engage the citizens in any act that is going to alter this historic resource, any of the resources in there. And the city has failed to do that. They've engaged people who are either working for them in their own agencies, but not really the ethnic population at large who is the owner of this historical resource.
Okay. All right, we have a caller. Thank you for responding, caller. Who do we have? I'm fine. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What is your comment or your question, sir? Yes. Okay. Well, I think one thing the group wants people to do is to come to City Council on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at 1:30, and wearing a black or a white shirt to show that you support the preservation effort. So that's one thing that, and you need to just tell everybody the significance of it and be a part, and you've helped us today by making this call. So tell us your name again, sir, so everybody will know. All right, Big Jim, we got you. Big Jim, we expect much from Big Jeffrey Washington. Okay, all right. You're a Booker T. Washington grad. Well, you know your school came from there. You know you got to stand up. You got to stand up. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, thanks so much for calling in. We appreciate you.
We have another call.
We have another caller. Who do we have? Anina, food, okay. We're fine. Whom would you like your question to be directed to? Okay. Yes, sir, you did hear that. It's a federal statute, and I know that the group is looking at injunctive action at this time. But I'll let Ms. Catherine Roberts speak directly to the rest of your questions. Okay? No, come on, ask the question. Yeah, isn't that terrible? Oh, we can't stand for that. Okay. Okay, Ms. Roberts is going to respond to you, sir. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you for calling. Yes, an injunction is definitely in order because there have been many violations under the National Historic Preservation Act. One is not including the community consulting process from the beginning, not including African diaspora anthropologists from the beginning of planning, using, we're not sure how they use federal funds, but they did receive a gift from Congressman Lee of $500,000 in federal funds. They were supposed to use that to explore alternate methods of doing the installation of utilities that will cause no harm, have no adverse effect on the cultural resource, which are the terms are used in the National Historic Preservation Act. But we haven't seen that analysis, and they've come back with something that will cause grave harm and have an adverse effect for now and in the future. The second is that our group, because of everyone's participation in this growing interest, has started an investigation by the Advisory Council of the National Trust into the the process that has been flawed during this period of time, the consulting period. And again, that's a violation of Act 106 and 110. And then the city engaging in plans or actions that will damage or reduce the size of the historic district, such as tearing down houses and churches and damaging the cultural resources, is a violation of the act called anticipatory demolition. They're erasing history, and people have lost their homes. 500 people have been displaced, and but it's not too late to save what's left.
No, it's not. And Mr. Wilson started by talking about the erase of history, and in your very first statement, what do you think the impacts of the action that the city has taken? And I guess I need to tell the listening audience that I am the Doris Ellis, who has been working and leading this this coalition for the last month, and I have learned a lot, and I'm hopeful that we're going to have some conversations with the right people that can make the difference to have our elected officials know that when all of them unanimously voted to take this action, they put our city at risk for litigation. And we have to be responsible when we elect city officials, and they have to be responsible likewise when they represent us, and know that we send them there for a purpose. So tell us about what your thoughts of the, I think we're going to let this caller come in first, if that's all right. Who do we have here? Who's? Yes, ma'am. Hi, Ms. Briscoe. I'm fine, thank you. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Briscoe. I'm going to let Ms. Roberts answer that because she's been working for 17 years. She knows lots of folk. But yes to both those questions. But Ms. Robinson is going to answer. Ms. Roberts is going to answer. I'm Robinson. She's Roberts. You got your pen? All right. Well, Catherine, you better go on and tell us. She has her pen ready.
Oh, boy. Thank you. The state has, TxDOT is an agency of the state that's supposed to oversee any alterations to cultural resources, and the Texas Historic Commission. They both failed in their duty to do this appropriately. And so, again, that's why they're under investigation by the Advisory Council. But the state legislators should all be involved in this because it's the use of federal highway funds, and it's also cultural resource that the state can benefit from tourism income if they carefully watch our cultural resources and manage them properly. So I would call everyone. I would write Rodney Ellis. I would write Gunter Coleman. And
particularly
Doris.
Your representative.
Yes, yeah. Your representative, and let them know this belongs to all of us. This is a national treasure. It's quite rare in the United States. It's the only remaining urban settlement of this type where the homes were built and designed by the first architects and settled by these families. So write to all of these people and write to the National Advisory Council for National Trust and to tell them of your concerns too, that this wasn't, they weren't following proper procedure, and we need to save and preserve this district.
And a lot has already been erased. I mean, when this was designated a historic district in 1984, at that time there was 568 structures that stood. Today there's only 30. So wow. Look at how much has already been erased.
Wow. Well, you know, Ms. Briscoe and others who wish to follow our activities, you can go, we're going to have it on Facebook. And Our Lady, Miss Priscilla Graham is going to make sure that everything is uploaded so that you will be able to find it. and we are at Freedmenstown Preservation Coalition. And I'm gonna let Mr. Derek Wilson give you those addresses.
Okay, phone number, so get your pen ready. 713-739-0163. Again, 713-739-0163. For those that have email, Freedmentown Preservation Coalition. So not coalition, coalition, COALIT @gmail.com. For the those that are on Twitter, you can follow us on Freedmentown on Twitter, and we just gave you the Facebook as well. So definitely all those sources of media that you can
There's
follow.
also a second number. That number is 713-443-9774. Again, that number is 713-443-9774.
All right, you know how to contact us. We have just a few minutes left. And Houston, I am going to let them tell you what is going on at City Hall on Tuesday, and also to announce that we're going to have a town hall meeting on August 11th at 7 p.m. at 118 West Gray Street. That's at Mount Orb Church. That's the church that you grew
That's
up
the
in, huh?
church that I grew up in.
All right then, well you can be there to greet everybody when they come in, and then you'll get to see these young people who are out here and see this, that Doris was right, they do look like they're 15 and 20, okay? All right, so Catherine, can you tell what you expect to happen, what you would like for the people to do when they come to City Council on Tuesday?
On City Council, if you'd like to speak before City Council to sign up, then you'll need to call one of those numbers and ask for instructions on how to go to speak for 1 minute or 3 minutes. Or just come with your black and white shirts on and stand up when our speakers are there to show support. The more people we pack into City Council, the better. And it will send a message to the mayor. And when you talk to your council members, tell them no removal of brick streets under any conditions, repair only from the surface, and stop damaging the brick streets and stop demolishing houses and churches.
Okay, well that's it. You all have been good. You've illuminated some facts today, and that is the purpose of our show. And we thank you so very much. We thank you, Houston. We thank you, KCOH. We thank you, our listening audience, because we are Sun Illumination, and our job is to bring you news and information that you can use and trust. And we want to thank Amber for making sure that we get it right. Let's give her a hand. Yeah, every first Sunday we are here at 2 o'clock. See you next month.
Great show.